Hey there, I am Pops, and I am going to talk to you about KGF Chapter 2. That's right, I wrapped up the series. Wow, wow, what a ride. Um, so, yeah, I have been down the rabbit hole enjoying Indian cinema, and this was part one. I did a review. I'll put a link down there for you to catch that review. You get my thoughts on part one. Setting up this entire universe. Yash starring as Rocky, taking control of what's called the KGF with this gold surplus that's called El Dorado, and this like flashback, flash forward, basically telling this epic tale. And here we get the conclusion of this sort of thing. And I got to be honest, that's really the best part. Is like it all comes together as one big story. Like it's you know I liked chapter one, but I had a lot of issues with chapter one. But obviously, when you put it together, it makes it all one big package. It makes it complete, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. Had a good time. So I'm going to really dive deep. I made a lot of notes, so I would try not to get lost, misspeak. But I am going to probably do that, so I apologize. But I am new to Indian cinema. I don't understand certain things, certain elements might not translate. So you feel free to leave your comments, make suggestions, those kinds of things. So let me first say that the way they handled catching people up was fine. I like how you just dive right into this. They didn't do a whole big thing to uh, set up how we're going to move forward. They made some changes, and I like that. I thought that was good. It has a quick little flashback to his mom talking to Rocky about glittering sea and the gold underneath. All the ladies love the gold and that kind of thing. And then we get this journalist thing, right? So in part one, you had the journalist who was basically telling the story of this book. And then, of course, here it picks up he's in ICU, but the son is there. And the son is like, he's a bad dad. And, you know, you go see the site for yourself. There's not going to be anything there. I'll be honest. All of this was okay. There was a good intro. I love the intro. The intro actually really kind of got me thinking how much I'd like to have seen this in the theater, right? To get past that. And once you really get into the meat of this, right? And you have like all the Dons that are gathering, they're going to set up this other person. Of course, helicopters are arriving. Rocky showing up, super cool. Yash is just freaking great as Rocky. And the mafia is there, and they're asking about Virat. And basically, Rocky's like, "Yeah, I did him in." Basically, and Rocky's talking about like how corrupt everything is, and everything. All the corruption leads to more violence. And basically, he's just talking a lot of smack. And he makes a snide remark about Rena, his love interest, right? Kamal's freaking out or whatever. So, Rocky does it. He just shoots him right there, kills him right there. Calls him a dog, and Rocky just pops him, right? So the tone of the film, the whole Scarface, Al Capone, gangster tone is totally set. Um, they didn't. They wanted something to be done to get rid of Garuda so they could get control of all the gold and KGF. But now I think there's a line about the snake. Like now, who can control him? Like that's kind of it, right? But there's like montages and stuff that here that happens that I thought really, really good. They don't spend a lot of talky talk. Like all of our Hollywood movies is all about talk and talk and talk. And they don't ever show you things. Here's a lot of showing, right? So you see they're getting food, they're getting clothes, they're having housemaid. Rocky's there. Helicopter brings Rena, and you start to see this entire little universe kind of come together. And I will say the film really has some interesting surprises for the audience. Like I can imagine the first time seeing this in the theater, like I may say the name wrong. Vanaram is still alive. Like, oh my gosh. So there's all sorts of chaos and whatever. And Rocky just handles this perfectly, man. He has like an analogy about the king and how the chessboard is saying the pieces, whatever. The king, once you win, there's a new king and a new game. And he's trying to teach them how to shoot, and he has to have an army. They have no idea what they're doing. So he brings this guy forward. They think he's going to shoot Rocky. Rocky stands right in front of this target. And of course, he's been talked to. They have an agreement, and he shoots right over him. It is super cool. Super, super cool. So the next time we see the Dons come together, there's a much smaller table because there are less of them now, right? And you get into this whole thing. They start with like, is there a monster in one of the mines? And he has this speech about how they're going to take over and how they're going to run it. And he has a vision that it's almost like the Wall Street movie. If there's a line about greed is good, but he has this vision about mining all of them, all 9 of the mines at once. And this is like he's made him like an icon. He has this hammer. So these kids are worshiping, they're singing, they're dancing. You have music videos, stuff that's happening there, and Rena's not liking all the kids and all the worship and stuff. Anyway, it's really interesting. It's interesting. The Dons are going to figure out how to use the government to take down Rocky because they basically have kind of gotten to an impasse. And you have this thing where Adhira, he's not dead either. He shows up. And you have this big attack, and you have the other Dons has been killed because they're trying to figure out how to get their hands on Rena, right? So Rocky's going to deal with this, and you have this incredible like Mad Max sequence, the cars, the way it's cut, and reality was it was all a trap. It was all a trap for Adhira to show up and shoot Rocky. And this mocking scene, I wrote out some of the lines. I loved it. It's like the god is on his knees, and it's not a game of ladders, but of snakes. He has all this back and forth thing. He's trying to scare the slaves. The bridge massacre just really shocks everybody, and you don't really know what's going to happen. And the Dons, of course, got the politics stuff. How do you think all that stuff's going to come to fruition? And Adhira just strikes fear, and everybody sends all the dead bodies back. You have chaos, and you have Rocky who's trying to heal in all of this, right? So this first hour has all of this stuff that's happening, and you get all this stuff. You think that he's leaving. You think that Rocky is leaving with Rena. They're just taking their gold. They're running away. The other people there are feeling hopeless. He ends up going to this place. He goes to the UAE. He's going to see Khalil. And he basically had this agreement about doing trafficking of gold from Africa and stuff. So they worked it all out. And then you have this is sort of juxtaposed against Ramachandra Sen as the prime minister. Now, again, they're trying to get the government against him. So Adhira is trying to move in. And what we get is a twist, another big twist right before this sort of mark in the film. And that is the fact that Rocky's played some 4D chess again. He kills them all because he was using the UAE agreement to get all these guns. So now his soldiers are really outgunning them, and he takes them down. So he wasn't worried about all that. It's all about the gun. We think Adhira is going to die. There's like a clock analogy about all that. The snakes and ladder things come up again. But he doesn't do all that, right? He lets Adhira live. He's trying to be merciful. He's trying to be different, I think. He agrees. I guess one of the moms had come about like her kid worshipped Rocky, become a soldier, and died in the bridge massacre. They want to have a proper funeral. So that gets worked out. And you have there's music videos and things like that and all this kind of stuff. And he's going to go see Shetty. Now, Shetty is like the first Don back in the first film. Like he's had this big, long, relationship with this guy. And he's begging and begging and begging. And I love it. It's because like he's also just super cold, mafioso. Like, no, you mock Rena, bam, you're dead. And it's like he's running an empire now. So you see a little bit of movement back and forth, and you end up in 1981 where you have Ramachandra Sen as this prime minister. She's like crazy, but she's also like, I'm going to fire everybody and do it right. And you have like, I don't know, you have some weird montages and stuff in here. I think there was too much being bogged down with cutting back to the journalists and the people there trying to tell a story. Like there's a lot of like wasted time, like retelling things that we already knew and that political infrastructure stuff. I don't know. Anyway, it's a great. The next big sequence has to do with this little piece of gold. They call it a gold biscuit, and it gets out, and he's going to track them down. And he finds them. He completely mows this place down with this gun. I mean, all the shells are dropping. Just shoots this place up to get this freaking gold back. He lights a cigarette on the barrel, and he's just like, he plays super cool, super suave, kicking butt, taking names. And anyway, all of this gets out, and that basically now the government declares war. Ramak is going to declare war, and Hira and Andrews are going to plot against Rocky. So all the stuff's happening. There's an old man in their mama song and all of that, and it's about, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do here? What's your accomplishments here? And I think right about this time is when Rena says she loves him. So I assume there was like, I don't know. I think this is technically when we believe they're actually married, or they were married earlier and they haven't been together. But here she loves him. They come together and they're affectionate and care about each other. And it's a nice little montage. Anyway, they come up with some sort of thing about they've got him on financial stuff. I thought about Al Capone a lot, because it was almost like he's like that guy that can't get anything on him. They think they do, and he just like he walks right into the prime minister's office. Hi, I'm Rocky. I want to file a complaint against me. Blah blah blah. We'll come to find out, if she does anything, the entire corrupt thing comes tumbling down. What was great though, he's in the lobby and he meets a CEO. The CEO is Jimmy Carter, who's the president kind of during that time. And he's like, what's that mean? He's like, oh, the person that's in charge of everything. He's like, oh, okay, I'm a CEO too. And he's like, oh yeah, what are you CEO? And he's like, India. I was like, oh, it's freaking great. He is so boss in this film. So it was a lot of fun. I love that it was sort of tongue in cheek, but it never got silly and cheesy. I thought in part one, there was lots of that cheesy, silly stuff that kind of derailed the tone. The tone in this one was a lot better, a lot smoother. The action sequences were thrown together better. Like I said, if I could do it all, I would probably just figure out how to get rid of some of this photojournalist backstory stuff, all that kind of stuff. I don't think we needed nearly that much of it. A lot of the stuff's coming out. The audience is getting it twice or even multiple times. Anyway, so now you have it here in Andrews, the government involved. Everyone's attacking from all directions. Rena is revealing to Rocky that she's pregnant when this happens. And she's standing there talking to him. He turns around to face her. You have this moment, and that's when it fires the gun. You think it's going to hit Rocky, but it hits her. And it was like punch in the gut. It was done very, very well. I was like, am I in a dream sequence? What is happening right now? And they cut backwards, and you have this moment where they were bonding, and she was talking about praying that nothing bad will happen to him, that bad things can happen to her, but not for him. And sure enough, she's the one that gets shot. She's the one that gets killed. So Rocky goes to fight Hira. They're both just cutting foot soldiers down on both sides. They're just mowing people down. And Hira is like unstoppable. He's like total beast mode, pummeling Rocky. Rocky can't get anything done. There's shots where he's punching right in the face and his glasses don't even break. I was like, wow, this is really crazy. There's a shot where he throws and hits him with like the butt end of the broadsword, like just pummeling him. So Rocky falls down and he's in this black soot stuff. And you think Hira's going to go in for the kill. And right as he does, Rocky grabs that hammer, that iconic hammer that he's used several times. And Rocky's just fighting back. It breaks the sword. Vanaram takes out Andrews. So they've all been defeated. And it's so epic. It's also painful because he's lost this woman. So he feels like hope. He has nothing to lose. So he's like totally unhinged. Like he's taken out these enemies, but now he's got to go deal with the government officials. And he rolls right up in there. He's got the gun on her, And then you have a little quick flash, little montage of all these different things, and you realize, no, it's not her. It's the person that she replaced. It's him. He's pulling the strings. He's the one that's been behind all these little steps along the way. He had tried to kill it here. He's the one that's kind of done a lot of this puppet stuff. Now, what's weird is he just mows that person down and then just leaves. There's no conversation. There's no like try to arrest him. He doesn't make a case for what actually is going on. And it just prompts her to just send the whole force of the whole government after him. And you're like, okay. And they have jets that are going to bomb KGF. They have boats that are surrounding him because he has all the gold and stuff with him. And he's made arrangements to set everybody up. They're all out free. And when all these people arrive, nothing's in KGF. They bomb and destroy it. The ships turn on him and take out Rocky. And he basically dies and goes down with the gold. I really tell you, I like the fact that it doesn't end with like some sort of sweet storybook ending. It ends tragic. It ends dirty. It ends with sadness and also like, because the backstory to the whole story is his mom's prayer over him, his mom's promise for him, and that he would find wealth. He would live as an emperor. If it meant he died young, he still made his mark. It's more about that than some other redemptive arc and stuff like that. So for me, especially because our Hollywood films haven't had and don't have that like messaging, all of that really worked for me. Now, it seems to be a lot of people are very divided on like Bahubali 1 and 2 versus KGF 1 and 2 and things like that. And I'm like, I kind of enjoy both, and kind of both for the same reason. Like I enjoyed part 1 of each, Bahubali and KGF, less than their conclusion. But when you put them all together, they're both very good and valuable and viable epics. They're not really similar. I don't think it's fair to compare them really, because the tone and everything from Bahubali 1 and 2 is closer to like RRR, same director. Whereas this is more, it's gritty, like John Wick and like I said, Scarface or Serpico's old 70s and 80s, like in the street gangster stuff, dirty. And I have to be honest, I was so happy that they ditched, because Yash, basically Rocky, is like a Jerry Sue. Like he doesn't get scratches on him. He's throwing people around. They make God references. There are scenes where he's very arrogant, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you know, he loses everything. He falls down, loses the battle, but then he stands up again. He fights back again. There's parts where he's using his wit, using his brawn, using both. All of it makes for a really good roller coaster ride, a good epic tale. And yeah, I really can recommend. The version I found was on Amazon. It was on through Amazon. It had subtitles. I thought it was fine. I'm not going to tell you I know the difference between all the different language versions or anything like that, but I can tell you that the version I had was fine. Performances are good. I think that he was almost like he was kind of like this role was written for him. Like this is like almost like, I don't know if that's how things operate there, but it was contrived for him to play this role because it was just like it's so perfectly done. Supporting casts are fine. And Hero was better in this movie, more memorable than most of the other gangsters were. So they did a good job with that. Ramika Sen is this politician thing. Like, I don't know. She was just like witchy woman, mad. I'm going to get my way. She has 2 or 3 interactions with Rocky, but she never really talks about anything. There's no real like, I don't want to say negotiation, but there was no real effort to kind of get her head around what was even going on. She's just always convinced that she knows what's going on. And reality is she kind of only knows a piece of it and never pauses long enough to find out more. So I don't know, but overall it works well. Like I said, the weakest parts is they cut back to this journalist telling the story, and the journalist's son is narrating to the other lady. We never get to the story about the dad in ICU. We never get back to any of that. It just, I really wish they had reworked all of that and just made it a story and not had that flashback telling of it all. But I think that's why they're trying to go for the folklore aspect of it all, which is something that can work. It didn't work as much for me as it probably does for folks maybe there that care more about it from that perspective. So anyway, that's my take. You can tell me what you think. Comments are always welcome. I try to reply to all the comments if you can. If you want to make other recommendations and those kinds of things, that's all fine too. I appreciate it so much. So anyway, I'm Pops. Thank you so much for spending time with me. And I'm on this road and enjoying it very much. So thanks again.